Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp has the day off today. And how's about that hockey team, everybody? How's about that hockey team? How deep in the fields do the Sabres have their fans? Are you at least I got to think the bare minimum is they've got your attention. But that probably should have happened, I don't know, a month ago, maybe. Last night, I mean, a 4-1 win over the Kings is not like, I'm not here to fly a banner over that. Although I did think, we talked to Paul. We did pregame yesterday. I got home last night. My oldest son, Owen, hockey fanatic that he is waiting there watching Duffer and Marty Baron on the MSG pregame show. I don't know why he wasn't listening to us. Anyway, he's watching the game. Quickly, I got to get settled and make dinner plans and whatnot. Prepare dinner, really. The plan was in place. Not that you need to know that. And I said, man, it's going to be a tough game tonight. The Kings are big. They're physical. They're hard. They're like Dallas, but not as good. They are just going to try to pin you on the walls and not let you use any of your speed and skill. And the game was not like – it was pretty much that game, but the Sabres just found their way to a comfortable kind of cruise control-y 4-1 win to put them – just in this spot that they're in right now, 8 points clear of – falling out of a wild card is where they're like 8 points safe. Montreal and Boston are the wild card teams. They are tied with the same amount of points as the Sabres because they keep winning too. This division is on a bender. I don't know that it still holds true that since December 23rd, the 5 best records in the league are the top 5 teams in the Atlantic Division. Because Detroit's somebody in here has had Montreal is 5-4-1 in their last 10. So maybe they've dropped out of there. But I know last week there was a game on TNT involving teams from this division. I don't remember which ones now. Boston, Montreal, I think it was. And they showed that graphic sometime in the third period about how the top 5 teams in the Atlantic have the 5 best records in the league since a couple of days before Christmas. Tampa still on the same heater. Detroit still on a pretty good heater. The Sabres obviously still. Boston still on that. Montreal, like I said, is, been a little rockier. They played the Sabres twice. That'll do it. And they play the Sabres again tomorrow. But look at how they're playing, how they beat LA, all of that, I think needs to be sort of pushed aside today because of what happened after the game that got my attention immediately. We're at, okay, let me hang out. Like the game ends. It's getting to be like football games. When the Bills play a night game and, it's midnight and you're supposed to go to bed, but you're kind of wound up and you want to see would anybody say anything interesting from the locker room? What did the coach have to say? What are the fans saying? I'm getting like that with these Sabres games again. And so last night, turn the set off downstairs, go upstairs, get ready for bed. I'm scrolling, and I see reference to Alex Tuch having said something that, to me, wasn't a comment, wasn't a statement. It was a declaration Alex Tuch made in the locker room last night. And then eventually, I think through Matt Beauvais, I saw the video of it. Not that I needed the video of it, but I quote tweeted the video of Alex Tuch saying what he said last night. I want to play it for you in case by some chance you are out there in radio land and you have not heard what Alex Tuch said in the locker room last night. Here is that.
Everybody's coming in trying to prove themselves, and we're trying to prove as a team that we're legit. We're not just going to go for the playoffs. We're going to go for the cup, and that's our goal, to get better each and every day. That's it. That's the end goal. We're going to be ready to win.
We're not just trying to make the playoffs. We're going for the cup. That's why I say that's a declaration. That is not just a thing you say like casually. And I don't know, maybe it was jarring. I admit it was to me to hear someone on the Sabres say that in that locker room, a locker room that has not seen the postseason in 14 seasons. But their record right now, this run that they're on, 23-1 is 20 wins, 3 losses, 1 overtime/shootout loss. That was the Minnesota game was an overtime loss, right? So that's it. I think I saw this earlier today, the 5th best run in history. Like all time. Like one of the teams on that list is like the 1932 Bruins. Okay? So they are on an all-time heater, and Tuch being the one who said that was notable because of his status, mostly to me. That was when I saw the video, I saw the comment or read about the comment, saw the video of him saying it, and immediately quote tweeted, okay, well, you can't trade the guy that just said this in that room. That just cannot happen. And I don't know if there's a contract extension like looming or what, but that he just became untradeable because the uproar, I just cannot imagine the general manager of this team that just took over when Kevin Adams was disposed of, Jarmo Kekalainen, trying to walk into that room or go to a news conference explaining how he needed, the pick and the prospect and the whatever that you're going to get maybe for Alex Tuch because you don't have him signed to a contract extension. I think there are only now two ways forward with Alex Tuch. You signed him to a contract that pays him, I don't know, north of $80 million over 8 years. Or you just let him play out this season and hope that he continues to grind as hard as he has been for you and helps you go as far as you can go. And then the summer comes and you let him go to the market. I mean, I guess you could always sign him at some point between the time your season ends. If Alex Tuch is right, sometime in June and free agency opening on July 1st. I mean, you certainly there is still a window there, but the risks are obvious. I wonder if it means that there is a deal coming soon, that they're close, because I don't know that Tuch would sound like that if he didn't think he was a part of the long-term plan. He could be that into it. I'm just going to, I know what my situation is. The reality is we haven't been able to agree on a contract, and I'm going to bet on myself and all that kind of stuff that, players sometimes choose to do. But he cannot in any way, shape, or form be a piece that you trade at the deadline when he is standing. He wears a letter on this team, and he stood in that locker room yesterday and said, we think we can win the Stanley Cup. I heard a little bit of Jeremy and Joe this morning talking about, when was the last time someone involved with that organization talked about winning the Stanley Cup, competing for the Stanley Cup? And I'm glad, because I did this last night, and I thought, is it all the way back to when Pegula bought the team and talked about, competing for the Stanley Cup? That's how he said it. Mike and I talked about this earlier this week, the inflection on the Lee part of Stanley Cup. But it wasn't. Jeremy, good for him, remembered that Kevin Adams at one point, maybe going into year 2 with Granato, made reference to a cup window being open or something to that effect. And then Joe was there with the memory of the Sabres in-house team producing, one of the pieces that they do behind the scenes. Is it Behind the Blue and Gold, they call it? Behind the Blue and Red is the Bills version of that from Pegula Sports Enterprises. When that offseason where they signed Taylor Hall to a 1-year deal, you didn't see Pegula say it, but you heard him, I presume, on a speakerphone, talking to Kevin Adams, and said, if we make this signing, we're going for the I don't know if he said it the same way, but I'll just, because he said it that one time. If we make this signing, we're not just trying to be in the playoffs. We're trying to win the Stanley Cup. is what he said in that piece. And that's been, something that has been used to make fun of them and him, I guess, individually, but more the organization and how misguided that was, because that was, of course, another terrible lost season, and Taylor Hall didn't even make it out of the entire season. That was also the season that they signed Eric Stahl to play for them, which is still sort of mind-boggling. Anyway, but Tuch is standing in the room saying the Stanley Cup. And, you can say slow your roll. You've been hot for 6 weeks, maybe. But they're playing as well as anyone right now in this league. They're playing better than almost everyone. There are some teams, and we'll see. They meet Tampa this weekend. Not this weekend, after the weekend. It's Monday, Tuesday, Florida and Tampa. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I know the order of those games. But the Florida trip is here, and they will play those two teams on Monday and Tuesday. Tampa, of course. Florida's the two-time defending Stanley Cup champs, was in the final the year before that. But they're one of the teams that is right now outside looking in, chasing this pack at the top of the Atlantic that just cannot stop winning games. Tampa wins again last night. Detroit lost somehow even in regulation with like 8 seconds to go. Thank God for that. Montreal hammered Colorado. That's what you get for wearing the Quebec Nordique gear in Montreal, Colorado. So that happened, and Boston won again. So everybody just keeps going. I loved it from Tuch, mostly because of what I'm saying here, which is what it represents. Whether they're actually going to, make the playoffs and win rounds and look like an actual Stanley Cup contender, someone having the balls to say that in that room right now should go a long way with that group. The fact that it was Alex Tuch and his contract is up means to me that's it. He is untouchable. You cannot divest yourself of that player. Just the optics would be horrendous if you did it. And frankly, without him saying that, I may have thought the chances of them trading him anyway were really slim with how good they've been going here. Whether it's like fifth best 24-game sample all time, which I mentioned it is, or not, how good they've been going almost requires you to just swallow hard. And if he's going to fly the coop at the end of this and you can't agree on a number, I think you got to just play it out with him. You cannot remove him from the team. And so I don't even know. I think I don't want to keep saying it because I think it's almost obvious. I think it should be obvious. You are not going to make that trade and get Alex Tuch back. You may think you have more forwards on the come here that, signing him to an 8-year extension for north of $10 million, maybe approaching $11 million, is not smart money in the long run, given his age. And you can make a case. But what you can't do is remove him now to protect futures, to gather future. You just can't. You just can't. I'd love to know, what his motivation for saying that was. If it was calculated or if it just kind of flew out of his mouth. Hopefully it's an indication that they're close on a contract extension and a scenario where he leaves you for nothing is not going to come to pass. But regardless, Alex Tuch is here for the duration of this ride, however far it goes. Hopefully long into the spring, because the Sabres are in great shape. They're not in great shape to finish necessarily third in the division because of Montreal and Boston tied in points with them right now. The Sabres have games in hand on both teams. In the case of Montreal, 1. In the case of Boston, 2 games in hand. So, and again, but they're 8 points clear. Those 3 teams are 8 points clear of the nearest wild card competitor. Washington is in that group too at 59 points with Florida. But Montreal and Boston at 67, the Sabres at 67. So you've got heading toward the Olympic break. There's 4 more games. These games Monday and Tuesday in Florida and Tampa that I mentioned. Of course, you've got tomorrow night home against Montreal, and then a Thursday game next Thursday against Pittsburgh, and then you're off for 20 days. So the Sabres are going to be in a playoff spot by the time we get to that. It's just a question of how solid they are. Can they win? I don't know. Can they get 3 out of 4 points on this Florida trip, which is, again, a hard trip? I don't think you can really focus on where Florida is in the standings. You know how good they are and how challenging they can be as an opponent. And Tampa is back to being the wagon that Tampa often has been for the last, 10 years or so. Like, they look great again. So those are 2 tough road games for sure. Not to look past tomorrow. I mean, how long do you think it's been for Sabres fans? 803-0550, by the way, is the number. We are chock full of guests, so if you got a thought, if I'm hitting any nerves with you here, feel free to get in here, because we'll be guested up pretty hard for the next few hours. Paul Hamilton right out of the box here at 3:30, Sal at 4 o'clock, our buddy Connor Rogers on the NFL offseason so far at 4:30, and Travis Yost back to the Sabres at 5. That's the guest rundown we've got booked for you here. So, your windows are not as readily available as usual. So now's good. How long has it been for you as a fan since you were, winding through your Friday? Maybe you're a quit early, hit happy hour on a Friday kind of person, and you got to be looking so forward to tomorrow night's game against Montreal. I mean, that is a team that I fully expect you're going to be duking it out with for the rest of this season. And, if these builds hold up, maybe for the foreseeable future. I think Buffalo and Montreal right now are 2 of the best stories in the entire league, because they're fast. There's young guys that are having big impacts, more so with Montreal, I would say. I mean, we'll see if Helenius and Osland can sort of, become even more impactful than they've been already. But Montreal's got guys that are in their first or second years that are just killing it for them. Defenseman Lane Hudson, Demidov, a forward, other young guys still too there. These 2 teams right now look poised to really be noisemakers, I think, for the immediate future. And I don't know, we'll see how far it goes. But I can't remember the last time on a Friday afternoon I wished the Sabre game were tonight. To have Saturday night downtown Montreal, with having just played them twice recently. It's a 3rd meeting in a little more than 2 weeks, which is super hot. It started to get a little nasty the last time they were up in Montreal last Thursday, and, man, I'm just totally here for it. It just feels so good to have this team back and to have someone on the team, the level of leader that Alex Tuch is, talk about the Stanley Cup, which he did last night in the locker room. Eddie is first up this segment. Hi, Eddie. Thank you for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, thanks for Hockey Central. It's a breath of fresh air even in this frigid world we're living in. Bulldog, I wanted to mention a couple things. One, my son, these young people have got me watching a lot of games on a super secret service device. And, I'm listening to, it started in Nashville, I think it was. And it's so interesting to hear out-of-town announcers talk about what they're seeing on the ice versus the guys we know. And I remember the Nashville game, the young guys got on the ice, and they immediately said, hey, these are some of the prospects that Buffalo has been, gathering over the past years. And the one guy goes, yeah, I think the guys 19. And he goes, well, the other guy's 20. And he goes, yeah, I think this guy's 21. And they scored while they were talking about him. And they were like, well, that happened quick. And then as the game went on, of course, they scored 3 times in the same period. Yeah. And the guys just couldn't stop talking about the Sabres. And then and then you flip that to what happened in Toronto. And I don't know if you saw the Toronto version of the game.
I did not.
Oh, well, you didn't miss anything because they spent a whole mid-period showing all of the Sabre coaches in the Maid of the Mist going over the falls to depict how long we've suffered. And then all of the players, of course, they never mentioned how they haven't reached the finals with this amazing group of talent over the past decade. Not a word about that, but, they were definitely in their tears that night. And the only thing I wanted to add to that, Bulldog, is that I heard a TSN interview with Tage when he got chosen to come to the Olympic team, and it was on a national coverage. Mm-hmm. And they were talking to him. I think it might have been like the 3rd or 4th game in that beginning turnaround in the 10-game win streak when they asked him if anything had been done, and blah blah blah. And he said, when the new GM was hired, the 6 veteran guys, Dahlin he mentioned. Talk himself. He didn't mention anyone else, but he did say there were 6 of them. Mm-hmm. And they said they got in a room and they said, what can we do? And Dahlin said, listen, I don't play a good game. I want one of you to tell me. And I have no problem telling one of you. But if we do that for each other, the rest of them are going to follow. And I'm sure Zucker was with them on that too. And I just think what they're doing is exciting. I think it's fun to see. And, it's not fluky. That is, I think, the key there is that it's not fluky. And it's great. My son and I are going to the Pittsburgh game before the 20-game break.
Awesome.
And I get to see Sidney Crosby. But, it's exciting that hockey is
I love to hear it, Eddie. And I'm also going to that game. It'll be my first game of the season. I just have not found my way down there yet. And go figure, suddenly the tickets are going to be hard to find, which is exactly how it should be when you win 20 of your last 24 games, which is what the Sabres have done. Mike is next up. Hi, Mike. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Good afternoon, Bulldog. If Terry Pagula's listening and Yarmo's listening, let's stop wasting time on Alex Tuch's contract. Let's actually get it done. He's an important piece to the Sabres. Look at the Sabres. I mean, one guy in the dressing room is actually talking about winning the cup. We have not heard that in a decade, more than a decade from this team. It's scary that the team is that good. I'm down there almost every night working down there, and I see it for my own eyes. That team is for real, and look out Sabres, and look out the rest of the NHL, because that 14-year drought is going bye-bye, and look out the rest of the teams because we're coming.
Love to hear it, Mike. Appreciate the call very much. We'll hit up a timeout here. Paul Hamilton will weigh in on the impact of Tuch's comments and the way forward for him. And, maybe we'll preview the Montreal game a little bit. We're just going to talk some hockey. Plenty of hockey today. Again, Paul coming right up. Sal at 4. We'll get a little more football with Connor Rogers at 4:30. And then Travis Yost from TSN at 5 back in on the Sabres. It is a great time. Very long time coming, obviously. Way too long a time coming. But Sabres fans, you should be feeling it. Alex Tuch is feeling it. Like he says they're trying to win the cup now, which is just didn't think we'd be there here on January 30th, I can tell you that. I am the Bulldog. Mike is off today. Paul Hamilton right after this on